All right, boys and girls, let's talk Linux user experience. Linux user experience is this: the terminal. Now, this is Yaquake, so I have, as you can tell, I have no problem using a terminal. However, that is a crap user experience. And those wondering, this is Garuda Linux. So let's go and look at the most used distro, regardless of what people want to say. There's a lot of distros that are based around it, which is Ubuntu. To install the next evolution of package managers and universal installs, etc., and the native packaging not mattering, etc., and containers, however you want to approach universal packaging. This is the documentation from FlatHub to enable on that distro, which is Ubuntu. That's a load of bullshit. Now, Fedora, a little bit easier. Flatpak is installed by default on Fedora Workstation Silverblue. To get started, all you need to do is enable FlatHub, which is the best way to get Flatpak apps. Just download and install the FlatHub repository file. Now all you have to do is install some apps. Cool, gives you the file. Just click on it and do your thing. And it gives you the documentation to actually do it. It's right there. If you need to go to the terminal, but it's giving you the preferred way is this. I'm fine with that. That's actually not a horrible approach. I prefer, personally, the way the Manjaro quick setup is. Because none of it involves the fucking terminal, and I'll get into why I prefer this way. It's literally, you go into POMAC, click the hamburger menu, go to your preferences, and just navigate down to the Flatpak and click a button. It's like 2 to 3 clicks to get to enabling Flatpak. Whereas this is not that way. Because, this is where we don't practice what we preach. Linux users will tell you, the seasoned Linux vets will tell you, don't copy and paste commands in the terminal unless you trust it from the internet. Yeah, all our documentation, generically, is this. Irony goes up and over, apparently. So, the reason I'm highlighting POMAC specifically is because this has one feature that a lot of other ones don't. Now, I'm highlighting the user experience because Arch specifically just got thrown in front of a whole lot more users than probably ever have really actually used Arch. Let's just be real. Really what it boils down to, though, is that user experience, they're not coming from the 80s and the 90s where we're used to having to use a terminal, to use Telnet, to use, command prompt and all the other stuff. I grew up on MS-DOS. I grew up on Apple IIs. I grew up on, the 3.5 inch and the 5.5 inch floppies. Like, I grew up on that stuff. So I know what it's like to have that stuff. And I understand it. This is the computing platform most people in the last, I'm going to say 15 years, because really it started with BlackBerry, but in the last 15 years have gotten accustomed to this being their way of communicating and computing. So things like file hierarchies and all that other stuff, they're not going to understand. Just go use the files browser on an iPhone and you'll know exactly what I mean there. But this is the way they're used to interacting with technology. This is far different from fucking this shit. Yes, you can get that on here, but that is not the default experience. And most consumers go with a default experience. So let's look at updates. Consumer, mom, pop, end user, everyday mom, Joe, does not need to know you have a GStreamer update. They're not going to know what the fuck GStreamer is. They just need to know they have OS updates and oh, hey, look, I have a couple app updates. Cool. They make it clear that it's a version update. Cool. Awesome. This is irrelevant to a consumer, to a everyday, regular consumer computing user who views these things specifically as fucking tools to get shit done and nothing else. They're not getting into the philosophical, nonsensical bullshit. There's this lovely little mode in POMAC that cleans it all the fuck up. OS updates. But it hides all the information. No, it really doesn't. It cleans it up and puts it in one generic category of OS updates. But oh, hey, look, if you're that user that needs to know what's actually being pulled down into your system for maintenance or whatever, if you're that power user that still uses the GUI for some reason, because most of you guys that are fucking power users are more of the fucking use the terminal bullshit. Hey, look, it's all there. It condenses down the bullshit to easier digestible bits for regular people. And it's not hiding anything. There's a difference between hiding and cleaning up. That is a vastly better user experience, because what this also does, this little mode, you go to browse, it doesn't give you the fucking libraries when you search for applications. That should be the default on devices like the Steam Deck, because that's what most end user consumers are going to be used to interacting with, because they're coming from a store-based environment. They click fucking update or update all, and they just go. That's what they're used to. They don't need to know that they need to have, pull in libmesa or whatever library. And if you're that power user that still uses the GUI for it, click off software mode and type in lib whatever, lib. There you go. You can still have it. It's one click away and it cleans it up. It's not detrimental to anything other than making it a better user experience. And it encompasses enough to please everybody. Not everybody's going to be happy with it, but it's definitely a far better experience than whatever the fuck we're doing now. Because this, we got to get away from as the only way. When we preach, we shouldn't be doing Shift Control V, Shift Control C.